Ready?
Ready.
90.3 FM, WHPC, Garden City, New York. Welcome to From the Pressbox, here every Monday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I am your co-host, Rob Leonard, and joining me, of course, is award-winning sports writer, and yes, my brother, Jim Leonard. Welcome.
How you doing?
Another week in sports, I thought.
Big week.
Big week.
Huge.
Big week. First of all, the Olympics started.
Yes, they did. Can I tell you what the sadly ironic thing about the Olympics is?
What?
The first United States gold medal that we won?
Was in field hockey, wasn't it?
No. In shooting.
Okay, well, you know.
How appropriate is that?
Well, you know, we always have to lead with that. So, but the ceremonies were, I think, longer the first day than I've seen forever.
The ceremony went forever. I couldn't watch it anymore. I turned it off for a good hour, and when I went back, they were just on the E's, and in Portuguese, the United States is Estadio Unite or whatever, and I was like 3 countries before the United States came in, so it was like perfect timing. So I watched the U.S. and I watched for a little while, like maybe a half an hour, but how much can you watch just people walking?
That's
all it was. It was like watching a foot traffic camera in Manhattan. Because what do they do? They're all mugging for the camera. Even the NBA guys are mugging for the camera, like they've never been on television before.
Well, not worldwide.
And they're taking selfies and doing all this nonsense. And it's like, okay, good. Like just keep going, keep walking. Nothing to see here.
So I don't want to call it the dream team, but the U.S. basketball team, the men,
the dream team. It is.
They're renting out a yacht.
A yacht, yes. Well, apparently the women are too. I'm assuming that USA Basketball is paying for it.
I would assume so.
But because yes,
Oh,
they're all on the same yacht. But we know, and sadly to say, but we know that the women don't make nearly as much money as the men do. So it's not like Brittany Griner or Sue Bird are paying who knows how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that a yacht would cost to charter for a couple of weeks that they're going to be there. So
yeah, so, I'm sure the NBA players can afford it.
I'm sure the NBA players have no problems affording it because one of their checks is probably more than what the WNBA players make in a season.
Probably.
So from that standpoint, who knows? Maybe the NBA guys were generous and said, "Hey, come on, stay with us." I don't know, but
I don't think so.
Probably
but then again,
not.
The NBA, if it was an NBA thing instead of USA Basketball, maybe they were supposed to come out of similar funds to all NBA.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm saying the USA Basketball probably pays for it because USA Basketball has plenty of cash as well.
Oh, plenty. We should say Michael Phelps has won his 19th gold medal.
Yes, he has.
Congratulations. Part of the 4x100 freestyle relay team.
Yes.
He also, you think of Michael Phelps when he's won all these gold medals, part of it, people forget, is part of a team effort. It's not just him doing individual things.
Correct. I believe this was his 6th relay gold, if I remember reading that.
That's important, too, to be part of a
team. Without a doubt. I mean, he wasn't in the heat. That was the weird thing, though, because I watched some of the heats yesterday.
Right.
When I was watching the Olympics and not really realizing what I was watching, because I'll be honest, I don't really like watching the heat. Because, most
they don't tell you what it is.
Most of the athletes are swimming just well enough to get to the finals.
Right, and then they put it on for the finals.
But, the difference in that is Katie Ledecky, who actually set an Olympic record during the heat, which almost never happens, because, like I said, the competitors want to save themselves for the big race later. But Katie Ledecky she's a machine. She's going to win some golds. That's a name that by this time next week, if you haven't heard Katie Ledecky already, you're going to know about this.
And that's always I think the problem with the Olympics is that the event has to happen and the person has to win before people know about them. You can't go in expecting them to win because a lot of times they don't, or something happens.
Right.
Who remember a few Olympics ago the two Dans or something, they were on Nike.
Oh yeah, the decathletes.
Yeah.
Dan and Dave.
Yeah, Dan and Dave, and they didn't do anything.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to remember. One of them medaled. And the other one, I think, wound up finishing 5th.
Yeah, but not what you expect.
No, I mean, from the ad campaign, you were expecting them to finish 1-2.
Right. So,
and that certainly did not happen.
Yeah, so I think about the Olympics, it's after the fact that people enjoy the story or.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, already I'm sick of Michael Phelps and the whole redemption story and this nonsense that's going on. Let's say Michael Phelps screwed up his own life. All right, he got, I think it was 2 DWIs.
Okay.
And I mean, was just kind of sending himself down this path of just totally screwing his life up. And good for him that he was able to get back in the pool and turn things around and get sober. And apparently he hasn't had a drink in like 2 or 3 years, which is great. But this was a guy who was doing it to himself. I mean, you're talking about the most decorated athlete in Olympics history, and here he was just completely screwing things up. But it kind of points.
But that's part of how the Olympics has become now. And I don't mean to say this in the wrong way.
I don't even know what that means.
It means it's become a bunch of stories that lead.
But it's a bad narrative. That's my point.
But that's what NBC is going for. Since they've been running the Olympics for a long time now. They want a story. Not that they told Michael Phelps to go out and get drunk and then have a redemption, but they want the stories because who watches the stories? And I hate to say this, I just read this in the Daily News yesterday. It's the women.
Middle America.
Middle America and the women. They love the good story. They love the story arc. The men want to see the results. The women want to see the journey, so to speak.
Well, the women apparently like the flag carrier from Tonga, too, apparently. This guy was all oiled up carrying the flag. It was...
Well, I'm sure he's going to be a popular person.
He was.
But, that's part of it, too. So, and also, the thing that gets me about the Olympics is it's not every event is live. And sometimes they'll say, let's go to so-and-so, and it's not a live event.
Right.
But they'll make it seem like it is.
Yeah, we should have Phil Musnick on and talk about that.
Yeah.
Because he's very big in his criticism of that.
And what happens is that a lot of times they'll show a taped event, and they know when it's...
Right, and they know what's going to happen.
And so they set it up so it says, oh, look what happened here. And they make it seem like every time they bounce, something good, different's going to happen.
Right. Well,
that's just the way the television's turned it into. And plus...
Plausibly live, I believe.
Plausibly live.
Yes.
Also, NBC is using literally every channel they own for something.
Correct.
So, and that's a good thing, though, because...
There were some channels I didn't even know NBC owned, and I saw it was on Olympics, and I'm like, oh, NBC owns Bravo or what? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how the curling became popular.
I love curling. I want to be on the curling Olympic team because I, despite my advanced age, I can still do curling.
Of course.
Yeah, you're never too old.
It's a beer drinking game. And
well, no, I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
but
it is. You could be.
It's a social sport in Canada.
Yes, it is.
But you still need to be somewhat athletic.
And they were showing it at 6 in the
well.
morning, like a couple of times Olympics ago, and people were watching it.
Yeah.
So it didn't help. It didn't hurt that they had this really hot Canadian girl.
That always helps. Always helps ratings.
Oh my gosh, she was good.
But that was back, I want to say 6 years ago, whatever, that Olympics, where a bunch of guys in my office, when I was at the Record back then, we all decided we were going to be the American curling team. Because there was actually an ice rink around the corner from our office that had curling. So we actually did look into it for like a couple of days, and then we just kind of said, all right, this is ridiculous, and let's stop.
Yeah.
But, but the point I was trying to make about Michael Phelps before was that for a lot of Olympians, after the glory is over, what do they do? Where do they go? There's no professional swimming.
Nope.
There's no, like Greg Louganis, perfect example. He was the greatest diver in history, and there was actually a show, I thought it was like a 30 for 30 or some kind of documentary I saw like a week or so ago. And what does he do after the Olympics is over? The greatest diver in American history, and it's, okay, well, what do I do now? There's no, diving is only on during Olympic years, so it's not like Greg Louganis can go become a TV commentator. Right. So what does he do? And he's another guy. He tried acting, but let's face it, how many times does that actually work where an athlete can carry over an acting career? And then his manager apparently just completely screwed him over and stole a bunch of money from him, threatened to out him. This was before Greg Louganis was actually out. And, Greg Louganis wound up, I think he lost his house. So, but it becomes this thing that you're really intensely white-hot popular for a very short period of time, and unless you're the guy on the Wheaties box or the woman on the Wheaties box, where do you go from there? It's like, all right, here's real life, and find a job where you're making $40,000 or $50,000 a year, if you're lucky.
Nowhere.
But it's a very strange existence, and for Michael Phelps to actually still be enough of an athlete and enough of a competitor to get back in the pool and still be as dominant as he is.
Also, part of it is that is, there's not a lot of people going for this, so there's a small pool, so to speak, of swimmers. It's like when Dara Torres a few years ago tried to come back.
The pool is all about the clock. It's not about anything else. I mean, if you could still swim the time, then you can still compete. And you know, Michael Phelps, besides getting off the booze and you know, kind of getting his life pointed in the right direction, he now has a kid. I think he's married. I'm not 100% sure about that. Because I've kind of been tuning it out because it's all Michael Phelps all the time, and it's like it's overload. We're 2 or 3 days into the Olympics, and I'm already just completely sick of Michael Phelps.
But that's the way it works.
And it's only going to build up more because he's in all these events, and he's going to be winning more gold medals.
It's going to be, you know, this is a 2.5-week television show miniseries.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they spend billions of dollars for these rights.
Exactly.
You know, and you know, Rio is not a fun place right now. It's people are complaining in the city. A lot of things weren't finished. The water is disgusting.
Yes, I keep hearing the word fecal matter, and that's not what you want to hear about winning the Olympics.
No, the reason you have the Olympics come to your country, or city or whatever, is it allows you to have an excuse to rebuild infrastructure. When a few years ago they tried to get the Olympics to New York City, part of the thing is that we'll be able to redo the subway, some of the subway lines, but then again they were also saying, well, we don't have to build a lot of stadiums because we have, you know, Giant Stadium, we have Shea, we have Yankees, and whatever.
But cities typically these days lose money on the Olympics. So it's all about ego and prestige. I mean, Brazilians are incensed right now because of all this money that this now poor country. When Brazil got the Olympics, the economy was thriving. 3 years later, the economy was in the toilet.
Right.
And they're committed to spending billions of I don't even know what their dollar is, but let's say dollars, on facilities, hotels, transit, everything else that isn't really helping their own citizens.
No.
But the citizens are the ones paying the taxes.
Sure.
And all of this money is going to this sporting event that's going to be here for a few weeks. And then, all right, once these people leave and all of the world leaves your backyard, you still have these problems that need to be addressed, and they haven't been addressed.
Think about a couple of stadiums that have been built over the years. Montreal Stadium was built in '76. The Expos moved in afterwards, but it was the stadium was so unmade for baseball. It really helped.
Cavernous.
It really helped destroy the Expos. First of all, and then second of all, the last time was '96. It was Atlanta, and they took that stadium. They actually cut it down so the Braves can play in there. And look what happened. Less than 20 years later, they're moving out, and
next year they'll have a new stadium.
They'll have a new stadium, and the stadium will become this. They say they're not knocking it down, but no one's going to be playing there.
Exactly. We had this conversation last week about Giant Stadium, and you want all these buildings to stay up, but
Giant Stadium was a better stadium than MetLife Stadium.
Well, they needed a new stadium. But the other instance of that is in London. West Ham, this season starting next week, is moving into the Olympic Stadium, and the opponents of that are saying that because of the running track that goes around, that the fans are going to be so far removed from the action, and there's been a lot of talk about how you kind of take the fans out of the game because they're not, like in English soccer, if you watch the games, the fans are right on the field.
Right.
I mean, I've sat in the second row of White Hart Lane, and it's like you can basically reach out and touch a player. Right. I mean, I've got close-ups of players with my camera. Just from sitting, I didn't have to zoom. I wasn't doing anything. It was like, all right, they're right. The guy's like 5 feet away.
It's a different setup.
So, but you're going to lose that, and a lot of people think that the fans are going to get more complacent, and because they're going to be more comfortable and a little further removed from the action. We'll see, obviously, but that was what happened with the Olympic Stadium.
Is there a lager there? Will they serve beer?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
Then they'll be there.
Of course. But you know what? You can't drink during the games.
You know that?
Well, you can drink and you can't bring the drink back to your seat.
Really?
So when it's halftime at
include like soda?
I don't think
do they frisk you down? Because I would come in with a bottle and then you buy a soda.
I'm trying to remember because it's been a couple of years since I was there. I think it's just the alcohol, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't remember people having beverages in their seats.
Oh, okay.
But when it's halftime, people are running to the concessions and they're just pouring beers left and right. And everybody is like chugging it down because you've only got 15 minutes, and then it's go back to your seat.
And people get hammered, and then they wonder why.
Well, they're not getting hammered. I mean, it's not the atmosphere. It's different from the States because there's no tailgating per se, but there are pubs all over around the stadium. And when I say they're packed, I mean, we're talking like New York City subway at rush hour packed.
Right.
I mean, you can't move. That's how tight it is in these places.
And one more thing before we
Yes.
get off on the Olympics,
Yes.
Because we do have to talk about it.
Well, there's other stuff. Yes.
You gotta love Hope Solo. The entire country hates her guts.
Well, there's a lot of people in the United States don't like her very much either.
And she posed on Facebook or some social media.
Instagram
where she's wearing like a gas mask or something.
Well, no, she had like a mosquito netting,
Yeah.
protective cap with the netting around her face, and she had a can of apparently like Zika-resistant bug spray or whatever. She made a big deal out of it, and I don't blame her for making a big deal out of it because she's somebody who, I mean, obviously women are at a bigger risk in this Olympics because the mosquitoes and the Zika will affect a woman of childbearing years, and Hope Solo is certainly in her childbearing years.
Savannah Guthrie of NBC News didn't go.
I don't.
Right now.
There are some of the golfers who were young and planning on having families, because they're saying that if you're exposed to Zika or in an area where it is, that you shouldn't even think about having a child for another year, because they want to be able to see what the symptoms are, and if you have it,
right.
and if so, I guess there's some sort of treatment for it, but obviously
there is treatment, but you have to know you have it.
Right. So that's the test. I'll get real quick into a couple other Olympic things here. Venus and Serena Williams were the top double seed. They lost yesterday. Played awful too. Like I said before, Katie Ledecky actually she set a world record to win the gold medal in the 400 freestyle. The first of several golds to come for her. And I was actually, yes, believe this or not, but I actually was watching women's cycling yesterday.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, really, I was. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, there was just a horrible crash yesterday. This woman, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Anna Meek, I think is her first name. Van Vleuten is the last name. She was leading the women's race. It started to rain a little bit on the course, and she went into a turn, and one of the like the painted lines on the road. No, not a lot of people know it. When those things get wet, you slide on them.
Right. Yeah.
And especially on a bicycle with those little tiny wheels that they have.
I don't know how they do it.
She went into a turn. She hit one of those stripes just a little bit, and she started sliding diagonally. And this course has curbs. I mean, it's on a real road, but
right.
She went crash, and I thought she was dead. I really did.
I don't know how those bicyclists do it. I mean, it's just nuts. It's crazy nuts.
But she landed on her head, upside down. The bike, she flipped over on the bike because when she hit, she was already sliding. The brakes locked up,
right.
And when the brakes locked up, it was the front brake. She goes flying over the handlebars, and she landed. And apparently, she was down on the ground for a couple of minutes before anybody got to her. And people were screaming about that. But it's like, where are you going to have medics? Right. Like, you don't know where she's going to crash.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's going to take some people time to find her. But apparently, she wound up with 3 small spinal fractures and a concussion. And obviously, she didn't finish the race or win anything, but I mean, she was leading at the time. This American woman, Mara Warren, wound up leading the race until the last 100 meters. And then 3 riders just reeled her in, and Mara wound up finishing 4th. I felt so bad for her.
You're listening to From the Press Box right here on 90.3 FM WHPC. I'm Rob Leonard. He's Tim Leonard. Tim, you're on Twitter. What's your handle?
It'll be @RealTimLeonard. Why does it get really loud when you put that other thing on?
I'm getting ready for the NCC Best Song Competition at the American Heart Walk down at Jones Beach.